Is it live?
Damn it! We'll do it live.
There's a Run DMC song where they say "Is it live" a bunch of times. It's like a sample.
Yeah.
That's what I always think of when we're doing this. Is it live?
Great way to start this off. Just great way to start this off by just a random meandering story about Run DMC. So part of the course for our nonsense here.
Run DMC is related to Prometheus and the fact that they are humans. Yep.
Okay. All right.
We can start over if you want.
You tried. No, we're not. There's. I don't do second takes. I'm like a Brando
Bob
or
Dylan.
Something over here. Yeah, there's no second takes. It's one take.
Brando does a million takes. He wants like a minimum of like 8 takes or something.
No. It's if it's not perfect the first time, it doesn't. You're still gonna have to use it, and that's just how it is here on this show. I'm not gonna stop it and then recreate this whole reboot OBS or whatever and do this shit. No. We're just gonna talk about 2012, baby. They already know. Yeah, 2012. Crazy to think that's when this movie was. Prometheus.
It was yesterday.
The Alien prequel. One of the last few movies I saw at the remaining Tacoma Theater for a while. The AMC8.
I saw the Lakewood.
Yeah.
Actually, this was the last movie I saw at midnight because I had a job then. And, get up at 2:30 in the morning, go see a movie at midnight, up for like 24 hours. And I was like, I can wait till the next day. Before, you'd like see your friends or go to school or something, and you might have the movie ruined for you by some dick. But no, there's no reason. I can wait. I can even wait till the next Monday.
Yeah. And midnight movies just kind of stopped being a thing shortly after this anyways, so they kind of you don't really get midnight movies to the midnight premieres. I
was done with it. I was done with it. I didn't fall asleep during it, but I was trying so hard to pay attention that I just wasn't paying attention, or so hard not to fall asleep that I just really wasn't paying attention to the movie. Then I went and saw it the next day. Right when I woke up.
It's a funny movie because it doesn't really require a shit ton of attention, but also you do definitely need to be paying attention. You just don't have.
It's a strange story. Like the way the movie unfolds, you don't really know what's happening next. It's not like, okay, there's the Death Star, it's going to blow us up. We got to go blow that motherfucker up first. It's just kind of like this happens and that happens and that happens. You're like, whoa, this is I didn't see that coming. And obviously, the shit's going to go crazy, and it does.
Yeah, the movie starts off with what you later find out is the engineer. You don't know out the gate because you have the tall, pasty white guy that you later find out is the engineer / space jockey. Was what's underneath the suit. Is this pasty white creature? Drinking something, and then disintegrating and ending up into the water supply.
What I can notice this time that I've never noticed before is that he looks sick. Before he takes it, he's kind of veiny. I don't know if that's how these people look, but I noticed that he kind of looks sick, and I was like, all right, so I think he's chosen. This is like a sacrifice, and then he drinks the stuff because that stuff is life, but it needs to attach to life first. So he kills himself. So then
so it doesn't become completely 100% clear. They never say it outright, but this is him creating the primordial soup, basically, of life. So by drinking this liquid, it combines with his DNA. So when he's falling apart, it's because at a molecular level, he's being taken apart and then combining with this fluid, it ends up in the water supply, which is basically what we would consider the primordial soup, which would be where life evolves from. So it's them creating, because it's in the title. It's Prometheus. I mean, this is what we're learning about the creation of man throughout this movie, and what will be the fall of man. Because Prometheus, I don't know how familiar you are with that. With the story of Prometheus.
Only the little bit I read after I watched the movie.
Okay. So you know enough to know that Prometheus basically sort of
took the fire from the gods or something to give.
Yeah, he basically pissed off the gods and everything. Like he made man out of clay. He stole fire and gave his creations fire, which created sort of, what would become humanity. Because the creation of fire is sort of what is sort of considered where it became at what would become human beings. It's like once we figured out fire, it was just sort of like progression from there on out. It was just like everything changed from the planet started falling apart from that moment.
You got the wheel,
and so that's why the gods don't appreciate this or accept that, so they need to make sure that things are in check, which is what this movie is really about. The long and the short of this story is a bunch of seemingly very smart people with ludicrous hubris create one bad decision after another. That is the story of this. It's a very religious movie in a weird way. Because they reference religion a lot, but her, like, especially I forget her name now, the main character's name in this movie.
Rumi Rapace in real life.
Yeah, with her cross necklace and stuff. And it's like she learns the lesson too late. Every decision she makes, she has doomed everyone from the beginning. And her hubris leads her down this path to questions that she can't and shouldn't have answered, but she feels like she deserves these answers. It just keeps creating worse and worse decisions until she finally starts getting answers, and it's the worst possible scenario to play out that leads to every single person's death in this movie.
Well, that is kind of one of those things that you want to think is a lot of like scientists who research space and like the origins of life are religious people because they like want to know the answers and stuff. You would think they're atheists or whatever, but it's not, I guess, how it goes.
There's
I don't know any myself. That's just what I've read.
Because there needs to be a sort of leap of faith for a lot of stuff in science, because like it can only go so far until you like kind of reach the sort of like the possibilities of what we could potentially know. That's why agnostic is really sort of a way to go in a lot of this, where it's like, I don't believe in that shit, but at the same time, like I am more than willing to accept it if I can get anything out of because like I said, the answers can only take you so far, because I mean it gets so complex with all that stuff, and it's easy to like, there's some things you're just gonna have to say, it's like the answer is the answer can only be A or B towards the end, where it's like, well, either the chain reaction was created by something, or the chain reaction was created by complete and utter random chaos. So those are your two choices, and either one is kind of an unsatisfying answer in a lot of ways. So
either one is unproven.
Dealer's choice, because there's the chances of anyone ever figuring anything out as a definitive is impossible. And
that's what's cool. Her boyfriend's like, he's like, oh, aren't you gonna take that cross off because we proved it? And she's like, well, who made them? Which is like like religious thing. It's like, well, there's this and we know that. It's like, well, who did that? And you're like, well, I guess it's chicken and the egg, it's like, which came first, chicken or the egg? And it's the same concept of like, well, inevitably you can go back so far, and you can only go back so far until it becomes sort of paradoxical of like what happened, because we basically know that like I said, like we mentioned at the beginning, like the primordial soup that created life at the beginning, where it just starts small and just over the course of billions of years becomes something else. But like, where does the soup come from? Well, it came from the matter from space colliding into but okay, then where did space come? You can only go back so far until the answers start becoming increasingly more unsatisfying. And for some people, you want to keep going back. And for some people, they will just like, okay, this is as far back as I need to get. From here forward, it was, well, God created the situation that led to the Big Bang or whatever. So Well, and one little tidbit that I never really thought about, or at least once the movie was over, I forgot this, that it takes place during Christmas time, which, as we all know, is the birth of Jesus,
Yeah.
and has to do with God creating life for the Christians. And
because the movie ends on New Year's Day.
yeah. And then there's David, who's like created by man, so it has all those little like creation themes and motifs
everything,
in there, which is really cool.
Yeah, everything in this movie this is a 100% religious based movie, and it's just and it's just its existence is there to sort of ask the questions of where, why, how, without answering the questions of where, why, how. It's really cool. It's really cool how many sort of answers you get without either them saying anything out loud or like not really being answered. Like you can kind of like, well, I understand, but also like there's still some things that don't make any sense with this. And theoretically it's supposed to be like we're gonna keep unraveling this mystery as time goes by. But we did say before we started this that we're just gonna sort of ignore Covenant. Because I feel like we're not going to. Yeah, I'm not ignoring because Covenant. I like Covenant as just sort of on a bare basic level. I don't hate that movie, but also I hate what it did with Prometheus. But
I have so much anticipation and everything because Ridley is fucking on his game in this movie, and he just kind of fell out there. And it just So
what we were saying before this, what I was saying is like I feel like we're not done yet. So I feel like there's more that like he aimed high with Prometheus and failed, and he aimed extra low. And he aimed extra low with Covenant and failed. So I feel like there's always more. We've got the TV show coming back, coming out.
You know what though? I don't fucking care if this relates to Alien. This movie's fucking great on its own. I don't give a shit what it has to do with Alien. If it didn't have to do anything with it's awesome. I'm not a nerd that needs to like know where the alien fucking came from. Like this movie's like totally stands alone on its own. It's not like a prequel like in the like Last Crusade sense where it's like here's everything that led up to Indiana Jones's life. This is just a movie on its own.
I mean, tie-in. But it is. I mean, it is a movie that is inseparable from. I mean, it 100% is. Yeah, but it is. I mean, you cannot care, but the fact of the matter is, it is.
For sure. Yeah, because Ridley said he always wanted to go back and tell the story of the ship. He's like, I don't know why in all these sequels they keep going forward. He's like, how come no one ever wonders where that ship is? I read The Making of Alien by J.W. Rinsler a couple months ago, and Ridley, like, even then was talking about it. He's like, I'd really love to explore the idea of where the ship came from, like, even before the movie was finished. He was, like, always into that idea.
The thing about prequels is that nobody's ever satisfied with a prequel. There never has been there's never been a prequel that has been like it depends on how, because even the Star Wars ones obviously were massive successes, but also the discourse sucks around it. And the same thing with this. I don't even. How did this movie do financially?
I think it did good.
Yeah, it did. It had a budget of 120, and its box office returns, which I'm assuming is I don't know if that's worldwide or regional. It's 403 million. So, but that's good. But also, you know how Hollywood is. That may still be considered
never enough
failure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Prometheus was considered a financial success. So there you go. Okay, and it made it made 126 million in North America and 276 million overseas for a total of 403 million. So not a particularly huge success if you just took America into place, but you don't. So overseas it did great. 18th highest grossing film of 2012. 2012 was kind of 2012 was going to be a rough year for anyone to make a movie to try to be the number one movie of the year, because this was the year of the Avengers. So
Dark Knight Rises also.
Yeah. So
yeah. Those are my two jams, Prometheus and this. or Dark Knight Rises. I think this is the first movie, at least that I know of, that like overtly just says like we were created by aliens, like without kind of dancing around the fact. And it's like we are, and we're gonna go into it.
Yeah,
which was very cool.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and this was the first time that Ridley went digital.
Oh yeah.
Like cameras, which is kind of funny because he resisted for a while, as a lot of people did, and 3D was good because it made them like 3D was the thing, and of course any director, because as we all know, 3D's come and gone in popularity, and at some point, directors grown up with 3D and always wanted to make a 3D movie.
2000. This year was sort of the apex of the 3D era, and it sort of started. It definitely kind of petered away after this, because this is like I said, with Avengers and this, and I think Spider-Man and Ice Age, I think, had a 3D thing and stuff like. And I think this was also the year that Star Wars and Titanic got re-released in 3D.
Oh yeah.
So
I was looking at my poster for Phantom Menace, but it only says the day, not the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2000.
But a lot of directors went digital because of 3D, and they could do it without saying, "Oh, I've gone digital." There's like, "Oh, I made this movie in 3D," and then the next one's digital, non-3D, but they just don't really reference it.
Yeah.
Which I think 2000. I know Shay, the part 1, part 2 that Soderbergh did was the first 4K digital movie. I think that was like 2007 or 8 or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like the red cameras or whatever. I know it took kind of a while for some director, like Scorsese. He was pretty quick to jump on board, and like Michael Mann was always there. But 3D Ridley was resisting, which I was like, damn it, because Ridley's like got the best visuals out there, and digital would really go well for him, and it has. Since jump. We're just waiting on Nolan.
Yeah.
We're never going to crack.
Yeah.
I think his brain will crack before he goes digital.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyways. I do like that, it shows them looking at the hieroglyphs, petroglyphs, whatever, and they're like, hey, let's go into space now and look at this. And then they're just in space. Like, you don't see them talking to them, convincing them, getting the crew ready, launching into space, like, barfing when they get up there. They're just in space.
Yeah,
they don't always happen this shit.
Yeah, it's always fun with the alien stuff because it's because the Wayland Corporation is always just kind of in the background of a lot of this stuff. Like you always know that it's like well, why is this happening? And it's because it's the Wayland Corporation, and it's the same thing with this. It's like you just accept at this point. It's like, well, why did it go from like finding another hieroglyph in Scotland to being in space like a decade later? And it's like, oh, it's the Wayland Corporation. Of course that's what they're doing.
I really like that the whole reason he wants to do this is to not die. Like that was such a like easy, like simple thing where you're like, it just clicks. Like he's like, oh, I want to make it so we don't die, or at least me. That's all he is about. Like,
he never even tries to do the like, I want mankind to live forever. It's like, no, I want to live forever.
Yeah, which is great because everything's motivated by being selfish. So it makes sense that he would put all this money into it because he doesn't want to die, which is great. And of course, along with the theme of creation and everything, and it's like he's at his end and he wants to meet his creator. And then I remember hearing that Guy Pearce was in it because I was tracking this movie for so long as being the huge Ridley fan that I am, and seeing him, and he's got his little hologram thing, which is really cool. And I was like, that is a weird like cameo for Guy Pearce, like or something, because he has a long history with Ridley. And then he comes back. I was completely shocked when he came back. I was like, what? He's not dead. Blew my mind when he wasn't dead. It's pretty obvious going back on it.
Yeah.
I thought Fassbender was just talking to the corporation, like, because you see him with this yellow bug helmet, which is fucking awesome. But I just thought he was talking to the corporate entity or whatever. Oh, this is my intro to Idris Elba.
Ah, hell yeah!
I didn't know who he was, man. Oh, he's so good in this, especially in this. Like when he knows he's gonna die. Like when she's like, "Oh, you got to do it," and then like his face, he like is like scared, excited, looks like he's gonna cry, and then doesn't. But then his mood is like different the whole time. Yeah, he does a very good job. and he's just like a good characterization because he's like kind of the normal guy. Because you have like scientists, then you have like the rich people like Charlize Theron and David, who's not a human, and then you have like the captain's crew, and those are like the cool guys.
Yeah,
those are like kind of levels.
Yeah, I mean, my first like because like he was in 28 Weeks Later.
Oh, he was? Oh, I never saw that. Yeah. People said it was better than expected.
Yeah, and he was and like he's been a recurring character in Thor. And Thor was out before this, obviously. And he was in
he's not giving you the full Idris in that though.
He's doing a pretty good job at being Aegis in the Thor movies.
Oh, I just saw the first one where he's just like standing there with his gold eyeballs and
Heimdall. Yeah, and he was in the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance movie. Because it's like the year before this, he was in that Ghost Rider movie, and then immediately after this, then his next movie after this was Pacific Rim. So,
that's right, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then because he's had a wild career, like
he's on The Wire, like, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, which is a fantastic fucking show. The Wire rules.
We'll get to eventually.
Yeah, because
I love when he's like, we got those shit in those vases, and then he just refers to it as shit.
Yeah, because Pacific Rim, and then he got Thor again, and he played Nelson Mandela, and Zootopia. He was in Zootopia, and he was Shere Khan in the Jungle Book movie.
Yeah.
And he was in Star Trek Beyond.
That movie's fucking terrible.
Yeah. And he's already in a movie that we talked about in The Dark Tower.
Yes. Great job in that.
Yeah, and of course, he played his best role of all time as Brixton Lore in Hobbs and Shaw, where he is a cyborg man. How does he die in the movie? The weird AI who you don't know who it is shuts him down.
So wait till the next movie to find out.
Yeah, it's the wildest thing. They just turns off Idris Elba. It's like, these movies aren't comic book movies. These are supposed to be real movies, like set in reality, just with some wild stunts. And then it's just like, no, a weird computer man that is controlling everything, created a human cyborg and Idris Elba that can calculate the velocity and angle of a punch so he can dodge it, and then just gets shut down at the end and can't move anymore. It's like, what?
You know why that one was insane? Because Vin Diesel wasn't involved. You take Vin Diesel away from the producer's seat and it just all goes to hell.
Yeah. Vin Diesel is there
by a thin string.
Vin Diesel's the anchor. That's why Too Fast, Too Furious, and Tokyo Drift were so insane.
Yeah. It's like, you wouldn't know it, but Vin Diesel's the glue that holds that franchise together.
Yeah.
Not just because you love Dom. Was it that his name?
Yeah.
Dom.
Because
Vin Diesel,
Dominic Toretto.
It's because Vin Diesel's behind the scenes holding that shit together. What are you in the ghetto?
And Idris Elba also had that Luther show that everyone loves.
Oh yeah, Luther. Yeah, that's a good one. I already knew who he was when I watched that, but I watched that because I knew Big Driss was in it. The guy I used to work with, he saw The Dark Tower in the theater, and he said there was these two dudes walking out, and one of them was like, "Man, he's a good-looking dude." He's like, "Oh, I know. You need to tell me." That he overheard. I think we had a similar conversation. Yeah. He's like, "Man, I heard these two other dudes talking about that."
I do have to say though that Guy Pearce's old man makeup isn't the greatest in the world, but whatever, I don't care.
I was actually thinking it was so good because I always think of like the Back to the Future one where it kind of looks like
old Biff.
Yeah. There's this movie called Dad with Jack Lemmon, and his makeup was fucking killer because I was like, wait, he wasn't that old when they made this movie. It's like from like 91 or something. But well, he's like 103 or something, right? He's like crazy old. But you don't know what kind of drugs they had in Prometheus or surgery or whatever. You've got like the weird like blue eye.
Yeah, I can still tell that it's prosthetics. That's the thing I'm getting at. Like you can tell the way it moves. You can tell it's prosthetics.
He doesn't move 103. He's still got a spring in him.
Yeah, and it was like the initial plan was to be Max von Sydow, which would have been interesting. Yeah,
go ahead and die or something, or
yeah,
that would have been good. They're like, wait, instead of getting somebody who's actually that old.
Yeah, but when they ended up with Guy Pearce, so they could have the
promos,
the age, and they could have the age change and stuff, like when he's like, because in the original script there were younger scenes of Wayland. So
totally, yeah. And I gotta say, even more than normal, I want to punch Charlize Theron in the face in this movie. Even in every movie, I want to, but this movie, I don't think she knows there's a camera. They're like, "Hey, Charlize, just say these lines," and she delivers them as bitchy as she would say anything to anybody. Because she's just a raging bitch in real life. She just is like the meanest person ever.
She was originally Shaw.
Oh yeah,
she was originally Shaw, but she had to do Mad Max, so she couldn't do the Shaw thing. But then the filming got delayed for it, and so she was able to rejoin the movie. But they had already cast Shaw, so they put her in this role. Yeah. Angelina Jolie was also one of the front runners to play this character at one point.
Oh yeah. One another bitchy, rich looking person.
Vickers,
yeah. I love Noomi Rapace. I thought she was going to be like the next big thing, but you don't see her very often.
Yeah,
she's really good. Yeah. Like she's got an interesting, cool look, and her voice is really cool, and she's really good. But you don't see her a whole lot because she was in that movie where she gets for half an hour, and then
Fassbender does a really good job at being just sort of like a quiet, pointed character. Like that's what, like, his Magneto is really good because he's just able to be like, he can be very unsettling and quiet and sort of like everything feels like there's purpose behind it, even when it's something very small. And to see him throughout the movie trying to be as human as possible, like watching the old movies and having him like trying to make his hair look like specific ways and stuff. And,
well, he's so normal but just slightly off. He just does something where it's like his inflection and his emotion isn't like it's like if you didn't know he was a robot, you kind of think he was doing a bad job acting.
There's always this like just a little hint of, is there more to him? Is there more to robots than everyone knows in this universe? Like, because there's always a hint of him, like, he does have emotion in some way, shape, or form.
He's jealous of Charlize because she's actually Wayland's kid.
Yeah, it's so weird because you can see, like, during the scene with the hologram of Wayland, where he's like, "This is the closest thing to a son that I have," and how like happy he looks when he says that, and when he says he doesn't have a soul, how his face just becomes blank. It's just like it's unclear if he's going through this because as a computer he knows that that's a bad thing, or if he really does feel these things. Like that, Star Trek, is it like Data? Where there actually is sort of like an emotion engine in there that sort of, because I mean he's got to have a bit of an AI situation because it's AI. He's an AI, and that's always the fear of AI, is that AI learns and can like once they learn emotion, it's kind of game over for human beings because then they can manipulate.
Yeah, and like he's like perfect posture, and he's like always standing upright and stuff.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't up with that kind of stuff. My favorite line of his is well, I guess I have two, but I love it when she finds out she's pregnant and she's like, "I want to see it," and he's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." Just like the way he's really good on that one.
Yeah, and this is actually, I mean, this is actually probably, like, as a person that really loves the X-Men movies and everything, like, this is probably my favorite performance of Fassbender. Honestly, he does really so good as David. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
no,
he understands it. Like he does such a good job, like because he's not trying to be from like he's trying to like make you think about Alien and their version of David, you know, but
well, like I said,
being
he's
also
not
a completely separate entity is
he's not robotic. He's just off. It's just slightly like
Yeah.
off. It's not what you would naturally do. It's just like someone trying to do what we would do, which is cool. When he's like the inadvertent bad guy in this, because he's doing Whelan's, like he's his henchman basically, and he's the one that gets the guy sick. And he, what does he do? Does he open the door? Just like that. Oh, like Shaw, like he wants to have the gestate the baby and all that kind of stuff. Like,
he steals the stuff, and he gets the cylinder. That he's the one that gets the cylinder. He's the one that's taking his sweet ass time. It's like it's funny because like you're getting the feel of Ash, but like but also a completely different character at the same time. Like you see the similarities. You see that they're the same character, but also very much not the same character. And
totally.
He's not trying to be Ash, but he's keeping enough of the sort of concept of Ash from 79 Alien to
because Ash, he doesn't act weird. He's just he just seems like a normal dude.
Yeah,
or not normal, but like a dude who kind of has to stick up his ass.
Yeah.
Or he just died, right? Ian Holm?
I think so. That sounds right.
It was one of those after Lord of the Rings, and you go back on Alien, you're like, wait a minute, that's Bilbo. I know he was in this.
Yeah, he died last year, June of last year.
Okay. June, okay, yeah. I guess that's longer ago than I was thinking.
Well, it's still not that. It's less than a year ago.
I was thinking it was like a month ago. There's so much, like Ridley fucking puts it all into this movie. Like there's so many cool things that happen in this movie. Like just like little things. Like I think Ridley, he's really good about getting a really good tight script with like no fat on it. And even this movie has a little bit more fat, like cool fat than he normally does.
Yeah, it's definitely got more sort of nonsense stuff. Like unnecessary stuff than a typical Ridley Scott movie does. But
in like a Blade Runner way, because same thing with Blade Runner, like that story is pretty fucking simple, and it's just like all the details that make the story go forward in the way that the scenes unfold that make it what it is. Like with this, like the mapping, like the little pups and like that red light that goes in the hallway, and then like when you see it being built like digitally on their ship is like so cool, and then like the digital ghost. Like that shit is so cool. Like when you see the engineers in the hallway and like the phosphorus kind of looking thing, and there's like that giant skull on top of the hill that like looks like a human skull, and just like all that kind of stuff. Let's see, I wrote down all my little favorite things. Oh, the W on his finger, on David's finger. It's like on his fingerprint.
Yeah,
it's like the brain of, and then like Idris having the accordion, and then when Shaw's boyfriend puts the rose through the hologram. And like he stands like halfway in it, and it's like got that cool sound on it, and and like sounds very cool. Like when the worm comes through and like goes through his suit, and then like the plastic melts onto his face from the helmet, and let's see what else I got here. Oh yeah, like when he was talking, and there's like green light on his face, like just like Ridley just puts a lot of those little cool details in there that just kind of separate it from it being a normal movie.
I do like the stupid little detail of Idris Elba's accordion belonging to Steven Stills.
Yeah. It makes it feel real when there's like that kind of unnecessary stuff, but it just like adds also extra layer.
Also, that makes that accordion like 100 years old, which is like.
I love his reaction when I think she says, "Am I supposed to know who that is?" And he just kind of laughs and he like taps, like he's so good. He's so natural in that.
Yeah.
He's fucking great. The only like really there's two dumb things. The first one is an obvious one where when they're running away from the ship and they just like run in the line of the ship.
Yeah.
And you're like, normally I can justify this stuff, but that one you're like, come on, Charlize, just go to the left or right.
Yeah, at least what's her nose, at least when she hit the ground, rolled to the side.
Charlize was such a bitch. She thought, like, in her life, it would just get out of her way, because in her life,
like I said,
everything.
it's a bunch of seemingly smart people with unlimited hubris making bad decisions, and that's just she thought she could outrun it. That's the hubris of Charlize Theron's character.
The only really dumb thing is the weed part, because it has so fucking stupid. It just like means nothing. Pretty much everything those two guys say is stupid, but they're not in it very long, and you get to see him brutally get killed. He's like, "Is that tobacco?" Like, why would you put tobacco in his respirator? And then it's like a bong sound, and you're like, "Does he have a bong in his like spacesuit?" Like, it was so stupid.
I did like the scene where once they find out, like, he's like, "I'm a geologist. I study fucking rocks."
I love rocks.
I love rocks, but like, you want to study dead bodies, which is out of my fucking.
Yeah, that actor just seems like the most angry human being like ever. Like even more than Mel Gibson. Like when he's.
It's funny because it's like, it's funny too because it's like I don't know, is he trying to be? It's like, is Conor McGregor trying to be this guy?
Wait, is that his name?
No, the MMA fighter Conor McGregor is very similar.
I don't know.
Just an angry, loud Irishman.
I can realize that. Yeah. Some teeth missing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy Richard. I think Richard Harris is. I don't know if that's his name. I know there's another Richard Harris, but this guy, like, he's in the Mission Impossible, like the last couple, and he's just like, everything he's in, he's just so fucking angry. And I was like, I think that's just this guy. I think there was this movie, 3 movies that Ridley produced. There were these English movies called like Red something. They were shitty, but anyways, he was in that. Red Herring or Darlene or something. That's where I first saw that. I love the part. Like another one of these parts is when you see David roaming around the ship and playing basketball, and he watches her dream, which I just love that idea that he could like go into it, and it looks so cool. It's all like the pinpoint dots, like the old, what was that old printing style? The pin, like old comic.
Yeah.
I forgot what that's called, but it looks like that. Then Patrick Wilson for some reason that scene, and he's her dad, and then like later in the movie when he brings up her dad dying, and she's like, "How'd you know that?" And he's like, "I watched your dreams." It's just like such a creepy little part. I love it though. It's I don't know why I was like, is that guy from Watchmen who can't act?
Did you ever watch any of the deleted scenes for this?
I did. I didn't watch them recently, but I watched them at the time.
Did you see I do like the I like it more in the final movie than what the original one of when Fifield or whatever, when he's been like, when he's back and he's in that crab walk position when he's returns, and in the original cut of that he looks more xenomorphy. His like skull is huge and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool creature design. If you can ever look it up, look up that scene, because it's the creature design for that sort of reanimated Fifield or whatever his name was, is really cool. But I think it plays better in the movie as it is, where you can still tell who it is, because you cannot tell who it is with that creature design, with the one that made it into the movie.
His legs folded over his back is from the first Alien movie. It was when Ripley is trying to get off the lifeboat. She like runs into the alien like that. Yeah, I just heard about that. There's a few things they took from the original. The head, like reanimating the head, and it like blowing was from the first script, and that's how they got infected in the first Alien. And then what was the other one? Obviously the pyramids, like not really pyramids, but the ships, like that was one of the original. I thought there was. I guess that's it. I thought there's one more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was always funny, like when I was reading the Making an Alien book, and you read that, and you're like, "Wait a minute, they did that in Prometheus." It's cool though, because when you look and there's those pyramids, there's like, I don't know, I think it just keeps going. There's like a whole shitload of them. Like, it's cool how many of them that there are.
Yeah, it's very Lovecraftian in its design in that way.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Like in the Mountains of Madness style, where it's like, how the fuck are all these pyramids here?
The fucking C-section scenes. There's only been a handful of scenes like in my life where I've like actually like been so glued to the screen where I'm not even thinking anything, and that was one of them where I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, it's a cool scene. It's well done. It's well shot. It's very stressful.
Yeah, and it's not overly gross or anything. It's like see her like shit.
Yeah, when she's tugging at the umbilical cord and stuff in her own stomach, just when she's trying to, you're just like, oh god, and like, and having her, she's running, she's getting stapled back shut and everything. Then she starts doing it herself.
Yeah, the giant sperm alien.
Yeah. That's some good payoff. Like the way the alien stuff sort of ends up doing its thing, and I guess there's some, because I'm assuming that's supposed to be like a proto face hugger, basically.
I guess it's like the evolution of the aliens, because it's like so Fassbender gave the guy that looks like Tom Hardy the thing, the black stuff, and then he juked that into then he juked that into her, and then she has the sperm thing gestating, and then they rip that motherfucker out, and then that thing becomes like the big elephant octopus thing, and then it fucks the engineer, and then you get the alien. So it's like the evolution of that. Well, because the alien, the facehugger, what it attaches itself to, it will look like that. It won't come out human.
What it takes on. Yeah,
that's why it's supposed to be the idea. Aliens really fuck that up.
Yeah, that's why there's so many different xenomorph types.
Yeah,
that's why there's so many different, like, there's certain ones that are like this. Well, the reason why this one looks like a giant, weird, creepy bug or something is for various reasons. So,
well, the cool thing in this movie is like pretty much all the story things kind of come out of left field, which I like, because she has the sperm thing in her stomach, gets it out, and you're like, oh, okay, that's done with. And then like at the end, after the ship crashes, you're like, it feels like the end, but it's not, because there's no real resolution. And she goes to get on the ship, and you're like, wait, why are things all weird? Which that's like the coolest visual, by the way. Like that fucking room, the screen, and that's all glitchy with the chandelier and stuff. Yeah. It's all off center. And then he's like, he's coming for you. And then you just see the guy ripping it, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. Yeah. And then
that's right.
And then there's the thing, and they're like, I forgot about that thing. And then she just opens the door, and they just take care of each other. And you're like, man, I had no idea it was going to go down like that. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. It's not like her taking down the bad guy, but it's cool climax. Yeah,
it was a cool visual of having what effectively becomes throughout the years would be the face hugger. Is basically what that thing is. Encompassing and just sort of dissolving becoming one with the engineer, which as far as we know is the last surviving engineer kind of thing. Like we don't know any more about the history of the engineers. We know at the end of this movie, her goal is to go to where the engineers are. Again, we're ignoring Covenant, because who knows where that story will really lead at this point, because as I was saying before we went on the air, it's like with the show coming, you could very easily just sort of like make Prometheus relevant again to the overall plot, because it gives you more time to explore Wheel stuff. Although we know that at the same time also that the show is Earth-based, but like, this movie starts off on Earth. So, and
you don't see modern stuff though, which is cool. They're just in the cave. Like, you don't see future.
Yeah, cool. So you don't know what the situation of Earth looks like, really.
Cool.
And we know that the final destination was Earth, because the overall plot is, which is sort of like the story of Prometheus, where the gods sort of, it's like eventually we're going to have to end mankind, and they've made the decision that they're going to have to kill humanity. Their creation for whatever reason. Again, we don't know. That is something we never do figure out. That's true. It's not like that's one of those things that gets like, oh, we fucked that up in Covenant or whatever. It's like we still don't know what their game was. Which again, with Ridley Scott, he, if he just gets to make the movie that he wants to make, we will probably figure that shit out.
It's a cool scene with Fassbender, like Master of the Universe, like looking at all the planets and the hologram. Like that was another cool little extra scene that didn't need to be there, but was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I like the creepy. It's not a it's a pre-credits sting of revealing what would
Alien,
be
yeah.
effectively the first xenomorph.
Oh,
That's a cool.
3D pokey head were really poked out into your face in the theaters. It was cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool creature design. That
Yeah, it is.
version
Yeah,
of the xenomorph is because it's so upsetting because it looks almost fish-like in a lot of weird
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
And it's because
Smooth,
like it's
tiny.
yeah, its head is that traditional xenomorph like long protruding
Dick.
skull, but it's more like smooth. It's not like the
Yeah.
exposed brain and skull, and it's pointed and stuff. And they show the his jaw does jut out, but it doesn't have the inner
Yeah.
jaw that you can see at least. But that's
Yeah.
again, that's a very fish-like thing that jaw that
Yeah.
can jut out. Like there's fish that do that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool creature design. I really like that that design, and it does look like what would be the first attempt of this xenomorph style, this
Yeah.
humanoid created from man, and it's like because it really is like the child of the engineer and humanity, because it would still be part of her.
Yeah.
And it's still it's wild. It's wild. And you could see how the evolution would make those become what they end up being, what you end up seeing in 79.
Yeah, I love that when the giant sperm alien is grabbing the engineer and he's got his feet up on the wall and he's like totally vertical. Like that's so cool because you know how strong that thing is, and he's just like pulling it. And it's such a weird, cool scene, and like the music's got like the choir like very lightly, and it's like it's very cool. Well, that's a cool one too because they wake the engineer up. And you're like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen? And what are they gonna say? And then he's looking at David, and he fucking rips his head off, and then he kills Whelan with David's head, who he created.
Yeah,
it's like such a cool, I don't know, symbolism or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but because the engineer kills him because he's not human, so he sees it as an abomination, and he kills him.
Yeah, as an imitation, as of like because the engineer sees humanity as we created you, and look what you created this abomination. Fuck you.
And maybe they've done that, and that's why they're gonna kill.
Because it's probably like a Sith situation where it's like, well, now that they've created their beings in their own image, it's like that there can only be one kind of thing. So they think they've become gods themselves when we're the true gods, kind of thing. And
who knows? Or they they've seen the future of humans and they know Trump's going to be president and they have to kill us.
We have to. Except this takes place decades after.
This movie becomes very topical for some reason. Just I remember when people thought Revenge of the Sith was about Bush, and I'm like, the third middle and last made Star Wars movie is about the time that it's made in only. That's exactly what that one movie is about. Come on, people. Let me see. Oh, my favorite shot of the movie is when the engineer wakes up, or after he does everything we just said, and his little flying console is rising out of the ground, and he's crouched down, and the camera's behind him. I don't know why I love that shot. It's really cool. I think there was a preview that had that, and it played it for way longer. It's just it's very cool looking.
Yeah, it's cool. A lot of the visual design of this movie, because it's all so old. Everything looks so old and derelict, and because it all is. Because this stuff is supposed to be, millennia old. At this point, thousands of years old.
I love the little the egg controls on the engineer's desk. They're squishy egg things. It's really weird and cool. Well, I don't know if I've said this, but Ridley Scott is my favorite director, so this was good to see him really going for it.
This movie goes so hard into science fiction that it's kind of insane.
It was his return. He hadn't done anything since Blade Runner, so it was him really all right, Ridley, do what you want to do. And
then his brother dies 2 months after this movie comes out.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's right. Exodus, which is his next movie, was dedicated to him, which was cool because it was about brothers. Exodus is a cool movie. No one really talks about that. But...
Well, it's not. I don't think Exodus was his next movie. He had that other one.
Oh, that's right. He waited to dedicate Exodus because it was a
Yeah.
brother movie. Well,
Yeah,
Ridley's always
it
working
was-
on like 2 movies at once.
Yeah.
You know how he does it. His most
Yeah.
underrated movie is definitely Kingdom of Heaven. It's like, at least for how big that movie is. 'Cause that movie is an epic ass movie, and nobody really seems to know what that movie is.
Yeah.
Another underrated one at the same time was A Good Year, which is a very good movie. He only has 2 movies I don't like, which is G.I. Jane, which is just like too over the top, and The Counselor, which is just too Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, that one is the next one. That's the one after Prometheus.
Oh, that was the next one. Okay, yeah. Ridley, I heard Ridley refer to it as an experiment. I was like, okay, I'll give you that.
I wanted to try something
cool shit in that movie.
Yeah, I wanted to try something that's not particularly in my style, and
yeah, I wanted to try something that wasn't good.
I felt like give myself a little treat and see what it's like to make a bad movie. So here I go.
Well, it's so funny because like he did like Thelma and Louise, which is a big movie, and you're like, really did that? Like, I feel like the only stamp that Ridley puts on his movies is that they're good. Like, of course, he has some movies that aren't as good as others, but it's not like, I mean, Tarantino's the biggest example where it's clearly one of his movies when you watch it for like 2 minutes. But with Ridley, you're like, he did Black Hawk Down. Like, it just like it doesn't scream a Ridley Scott movie, other than the fact that it's a good movie. I think because the Kingdom of Heaven's the only movie that he went, I want to make this movie, and he hired a writer. Other than that, he finds scripts.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
The one
thing lately is they're just good movies. They don't really go for it. Prometheus went for it, but
yeah,
that's
about it. There's always because people when this movie came out, there was a lot of sort of shit talking about this movie because sci-fi, for whatever reason in particular, suffers from especially when it has the sequel situation, tends to suffer the most from people not getting what they wanted out of it because they're expecting something different out of Alien. And so, but everyone always has like they always point out that's not your biggest problem. Why are you including that in this, the fluctuation in size of the space jockeys? Because they're massive, and then they're just they're still fucking huge in this movie, but they're only 10 feet as opposed to the it's the size of a Volkswagen bus in the original movie, whatever. They're absolutely massive in the original one. So it's like, why are their sizes different? It's like, well, they're fucking aliens. Who the fuck cares? Yeah. It could be anything.
Do you want a new movie, or do you want it to be completely accurate to something else? Like, they're gonna have to change it because, of course, the space jockey didn't have a story before. Or they were mad that it was a helmet over it. Like that didn't. Yeah, it was for 30 years. And
it turns out it wasn't. It turns out it wasn't a suit, or it turns out it was a suit, not what they looked like. It's like, who the It's like, it's just more. Yeah, it's that's not the reason. Like, what is your real reason other than you would have made an Alien prequel different? Like, what's your real reason?
I know. I think it's hard to kind of put into words what you don't like about something, so people just kind of have to make shit up. Like of course, there's those dumb little things I brought up only because we're doing this. If we were talking, I probably wouldn't. Well, the weed thing is pretty inexcusable. But
yeah. You complained about that day one. After we both saw it, those were the first things out of your mouth was how stupid you thought that's.
That's out of the way bad. It's not like a movie where they just kind of have a dumb comic relief character or something, and they're trying with that. You're like, what was the point of that scene? I don't get it.
So in the first Alien movie, the space jockey is 27 feet.
Yeah.
And in Prometheus, they're 10 feet.
Yeah, they're not too.
And it's well, they're also aliens, man. It could be anything. It's
He shrunk. He grew with the
it's a different
vacuum of space sitting there for 30 years.
Gravity is different in this part of the whatever. I mean, that's realistic. That's something that would happen. It doesn't take if just a little bit was different. I forget, if the oxygen concentration was only 1% different on this planet, spiders would be the size of cats and stuff like that. It doesn't take much for shit to just change.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's a sci-fi and they're in another galaxy. It's it's a fucking movie. Who the fuck cares? Especially on a stupid little detail.
I do in this movie, we don't know how. All we know is there's cryosleep. We don't know how things really work because we don't know what space travel is like in this universe. It's like there's no hyperspace talk. There's no like, oh, we're gonna hop into a black hole and it'll whip us to the like. There's none of that. It's just like, all right, well, we've been woken up out of our cryo sleep and we're there. And it's like that. And it's like that in like both like the original Alien and this one, where it's just like, nah,
great, yeah, which is great. Which is like, which makes it not really science fiction. I mean, in a way, you know, it makes it so it's not about the science fiction. They're just in space. Of course, this is for sure because it's about, you know, aliens. And
the first movie is definitely like, yeah, the original 79 Alien is definitely not like a sci-fi movie because it really is just a bunch of guys on a bunch of like miners on
truckers in space,
truckers in space, and it's a horror movie. It's like it just so happens that it's an alien and not Michael Myers or something.
Exactly. Although it's so this ship that crashes is supposed to be the one that they find at 79. But now there's a lot of explanations for this, but not that I looked much, but I've never seen anyone or heard anyone bring this one up. But in Prometheus, on the screen, when they show the planet name, it's called LV-223. In Alien 79, it's called LV-426. So I don't know if this is actually supposed to be the ship or if they renamed the planet slightly by 200 or something. I don't know exactly, but obviously they knew what they were making, so they had to be somewhat deliberate. I'm
sure there's no accidents in this. So
exactly, yeah. So I don't know if it's like a fail-safe or like, well, that wasn't actually the ship, so you have to see the next two or whatever.
Yeah.
But
or it was the ship, but how did it get from that planet to that planet? Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know if we'll get another one of these. Ridley's like 80.
I mean, he is actively working on the new.
He's got two movies coming out in October this year, I think.
This year.
Or at least they're like a month apart or something.
One of them is in its like post-production now, and the other one's currently filming.
Yeah. The Last Duel, which I thought might be his last movie since his first movie is called The Duelist.
Yeah. And then immediately after that is the Gucci movie. But no, he is actively working on the sequel right now. Like it's being written and all that stuff's happening. Yeah, and it's funny because like he's been doing it since, you know, The Duelists was 77, and he doesn't have like you think about, like, you look at his list of movies and you're like, I guess that's not a lot, but also you're like, well, I guess that is kind of a lot, like because you look at other directors and you're just like, man, they've got like, you know, way more than this. Yeah,
Ridley's like one a year, maybe two sometimes. Like,
that's
prolific.
You know what? Let's just talk about Ridley Scott for a minute. Then
I love Ridley Scott.
Who knows when we'll hook back around to a Ridley Scott movie? It's gonna happen. There's so many good movies.
Just Alien, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, fucking Kingdom of Heaven.
So his career starts in.
Hold on, real quick, good Ridley thing. In that Alien book, it's like Dan O'Bannon hated Geiler, and like Giger hated not Pete Carroll. It's the Sion guy, but some guy named Carroll. One of the producers. It could be Pete. I don't know. It's a pretty common name, I'm sure. But so many people in that production would not talk to each other because they hated each other. Everybody talked to Ridley. Every single person would talk. They all loved Ridley. Like people talking like, yeah, I won't talk to this guy because he's such a douchebag. But Ridley, he's a good guy. I really like Ridley. It's just like I kept waiting for something. No, it never came up. Everybody talked to Ridley. Like they would go through him because everybody just loved that guy.
It's so funny when you break down, you think about like Giger doing the artwork for this movie. And it's just like Giger feels like he's from like a whole different like generation. Like, oh, that's right, he was still doing stuff deep into the 90s. Like, it doesn't feel like it because like he had like Batman stuff going on at one point. Remember, like his Batmobile, he had like a Batmobile design that was an absolute fucking nightmare. You look at his Batmobile, and it's you could tell that it's Giger.
Yeah.
It looks like a straight. It looks like it's like a hybrid of like a bug and a DNA strand is what his Batmobile design was. It was like this very like organic looking gross thing. And it's like, how would this ever work? And why would Bruce Wayne have this?
Really liked him. He really loved him. He was like, he's really practical about his designs. Like he knows what will work. And when you want him to change stuff, like he's very cool about it. He liked it a lot.
Because he was all about sort of like somehow making non-Euclidean geometry seem organic, and he did a really good job at doing that, making just things gross. And the xenomorph design is one of my favorite like creature designs of like all time. It's really
creepy.
It's really creepy. It's really intimidating. Like you look at it, like when you see it without the lighting, and you're just like, if you've been to the Museum of Pop Culture and it's there, they have like one of the suits there. It's scarier, but also like it's less intimidating, but because it's like well lit, and it's just like, it's just a foam suit. But like when you put it in the context of a movie, and you hose it down so it's slimy, and you've got strobing lights, and it's dim and dark, and it's huge, like it's big and intimidating. Like it looks like an old, like it's like got this like Frankenstein's monster kind of thing. Like it's slow and lumbering, but also can be terrifyingly fast when it needs to be. And it's got its tail is a weapon. It's like that headpiece being translucent, so you can sort of see like its brain and its skull and behind it and everything, is a creepy design.
That's a real human skull in there.
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, they got them from the hospital. They were like cleaned.
Yeah, that's how they
sanitized and stuff. But it was cool. There's pictures in there, and it's like before the skull's covered, it's just like a real fucking skull in there.
Yeah. There's a rumor that's never really been fully proven or disproven that there is one real skull in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Sounds like a good rumor.
Yeah.
You can buy them. Like when I made the short that I made, I was looking up skulls, and you can buy them. I was like, do I want a real one? Nah, shit's expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive. That's the thing. Like it's not cheap to get.
Remember doing that, looking at my phone at like early in the morning, going to bed, just like eyes barely open, looking. It's like, wait, am I reading this right? A real human skull on Amazon?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ridley Scott starts his career in 1977 with The Duelists.
Which he was 40 when he made Alien, because he had been doing commercials. Like he even had his own production company. Like he was able to pay for The Duelist all himself because he was making fucking commercials like crazy. I think he made like 500 or 5,000. I can't remember what the number was.
And so Alien is his second movie. Like, like that's like. Coming out strong. I'm looking at what his his thermometer ratings here.
I found out. You know what movie created Rotten Tomatoes? Rush Hour.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because the guy, I think he wanted to compare either what people thought around the world, since it was Jackie Chan, he was international, or he wanted to compare it with his other movies. I don't know, but I watched Rush Hour and I was reading factoids, and they said that movie was single-handedly responsible for Rotten Tomatoes.
His lowest, Ridley Scott's lowest rated movie of all time is
A Good Year, right?
Yep, 25% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have no idea why. Everyone I know has seen that fucking loves that movie. It's a great movie.
So you got Alien in 1979, and then in 1982 you get Blade Runner.
Yeah.
In 1985 you get Legend.
Yeah, which is a cool movie. It's fucking weird and creepy, but it's cool. Yeah. Ridley doesn't really love it.
1987 you get Someone to Watch Over Me,
which is good. It's definitely his B-list movie.
Yeah.
Same with the next one, Black Rain.
Yeah, 1989 is Black Rain. 1991 is Thelma and Louise, which was like his biggest movie since Alien.
Yeah, Blade Runner was.
So let's say don't say Blade Runner, because we know.
Yeah, Blade Runner was.
And it's almost like everyone. I got in an argument with a coworker the other day where I was saying like, well, the reason you're not going to see like the reason you don't see movies like this is like even with something like Blade Runner wasn't a big success, the original Blade Runner, and then they make a sequel to Blade Runner, and then surprise, surprise, it's not a huge success because you're it may be a cult classic, but it's a cult classic. It's the people that went to go see the original movie weren't out in numbers, and so and she's like, no, I think it was a success. I'm like, I can guarantee you it was not a success. I know for a fact it was not a success. Like, but it was a great movie. I am not arguing that it wasn't a great movie, but it didn't. So I had to look it up to just say it wasn't a success. They lost their tail on Blade Runner 2049.
Financially, not creatively, not artistically. Financially.
Yeah. 2049 is a phenomenal movie and one of the best sequels I have ever seen because it really takes the heart of what a sequel like a sequel of this style where it's like we're coming back to it way after we should have ever come back to it. This is how we're doing. It's one thing when the sequel comes out within a couple of years and it's just you continuing a story. Like this is like decades have passed and we have to come back to it, and this is
it had the spirit of it. It got the heart right. It continued it, and they did a really good job. I did not want to see it because I was like, this is gonna be stupid, and then everybody's like, it's good, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And I was like, yep, you're right.
And then there's the one thing that I like the most about that Blade Runner sequel is that the original movie, it just kind of through nature connects back up with it. It doesn't start off connected to it in any way, shape, or form, and it just sort of organically sort of like meets up with the movie. It doesn't try to shove the original Blade Runner into its own plot. It just sort of organically finds it there because it would. This like the story of what's happening here would just sort of organically sort of find its way back to Harrison Ford in a way, and they don't try to just like start it off with trying to connect the dots. It just slowly happens, and it feels very natural how it plays out. Anyways, what his best movie by a long shot.
He was one of those I didn't like for a long time. Just because I saw a couple of movies that weren't that great, and then I finally, I must have been this, and then I was like, man, this guy's fucking great. And The Place Beyond the Pines, that's a fucking great movie with him.
Then he did 1492.
It's a really cool movie. It's kind of in the vein of Terrence.
It's not. It's a cool movie, but I wouldn't call it a good movie.
I loved it. That's on Amazon. I was like, I should watch that again. I haven't seen it in a couple of years.
And then he did White Squall.
Oh yeah, that's also a good movie. I think on my Wayne's World VHS there was a preview for 1492, so I've seen that preview a lot. Like Columbus's feet going in the ground in the water, and it's like lightning or something.
Yeah, this super like fake version of Columbus, and it's like, what the fuck is like? It's a cool idea, but it's also like all of it's bullshit. So it's
I just watched it as a movie. Like,
it's all super bullshit. Anyway, there's White Squall.
I hate it based on a true story. It's like because it's always like, well, really, that didn't really happen. Why was it in the movie?
Then you have G.I. Jane, which is not a good movie.
Viggo Mortensen's in that.
Yeah, he is.
Mustache, I think.
And then you have in 2000. Then there's a 3-year break for Ridley, and then he comes out with Gladiator.
Yeah, comes out strong. That's like the beginning. That's like the phase 2 of Ridley, like the beginning. And that's when we get the Ridley that we know and love today. Because kind of in the after Blade Runner, he makes movies, but he's just kind of a gun for hire, basically. And then after Gladiator, then you get fucking Ridley.
Yeah,
because Gladiator is like.
Yeah, you get Gladiator, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And then you get Hannibal.
Weird. It's good. It's weird though. It's a good adaptation of the book because the book's fucking weird too.
Yeah, the book. I was say the book's fucking weird too. It's like it's somehow actually more subdued than the book, and this movie is fucking weird anyway. So
yeah, and they changed the ending, which I think was a good thing because in the book you're like really blue balled, and it's cool, but and like in a movie you would be really disappointed. Like they did a really good job with changing that ending because it's still kind of dark, but it kind of sucks in its own way. But the book ending kind of sucks also. It's cool, but it's like, man, that is a shitty or just dark ending.
And so this is 2001, and also after Hannibal you get Black Hawk Down.
Yes, which is I would say the best war movie ever because it's just the war.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, okay, so 2001 is where Hollywood sort of really starts to fall apart because everyone starts kind of tripping over themselves, creating this sort of like post 9/11 world of filmmaking where we sort of changed the rules of like villains and characters and stuff in there. And so this movie came out at a great time because it definitely became a bigger movie than it probably would have ever have been. Because this came out in December of 2001, which is only a few months.
Well, they moved out.
After 9/11.
It's supposed to come out in March or something, and they're like, "Well, everyone's really patriotic right now. Let's move this shit up."
Yeah. So, and it's good, and it's it works out because it really is like it does a good job at both being terrifying war movie and not trying to, and it doesn't feel particularly propaganda-ish, which a lot of war movies end up doing, where they're trying to make it seem like it does not. There at no point does it make it look like any of this is fucking cool.
No. Or
it makes all of this. Yeah.
Well, I hate it also when it's like war is hell, and like I know I've seen a war movie before. This is just the events as they happen.
It's a really good sort of just like it's a fantastic visually. It sounds. This movie has some of the best sound design I've ever heard in a movie.
And we hadn't seen modern war in movies, it's always World War II and Vietnam, and it was really cool to like see like modern shit. And like you look at like
and by modern we mean by this point this conflict was 20 years.
I mean like past Vietnam, like you hadn't really seen like war, like. Just like stuff that's more modern and everything, and enlisted people, not drafted people, not fighting the greatest evil in the world, and like World War II and stuff. It was cool, and it's like, and it's a good tribute to what those guys did because what was like 18 died, and then like 1,000 Somalians, and you're like, fuck, our guys are well trained. Like, damn, those guys did a good job. It was cool
because it's definitely not one of those things where it's like whenever a movie is sort of set in like the Middle East, like nowadays and stuff, it's just like this sucks because like you have to portray these characters because I mean they are soldiers, so you have to portray them with a bit of respect unless you're basing them off of shitty dudes. But even then, it doesn't really matter too much because guys like the American Sniper stuff, like that dude was a shitty dude, but he's portrayed as a as a particularly great man in these movies and stuff. But like this one was just like it's not the Iraq War. It's not particularly Desert Stormy either. So it's like it's a different kind of conflict that it is showing portrayed, like what you kind of picture in your head of what our military is doing, as opposed to we're just going to a country and firebombing democracy across them until they give up. This one really is like there's a purpose of them going in and doing their thing. And there you go.
It's about them, like what they went through. They asked Ridley if it was an anti-war or pro movie, or anti-war or pro-war, and he's like, "Well, I think all war movies are anti-war just by showing war." I thought that was a good answer. They're like, "It's just a story. We're just telling the story."
No, it's one of it's probably it's probably the best like war movie, like because it doesn't feel pandery, which is what war movies. I've always said I don't like. I particularly don't like war movies in general because when they're based on reality, they're never based on reality. Like,
like, why was that cool? Because it didn't happen.
It was cool because it didn't happen, or it's like propaganda. It's trying to like, because a lot of these movies do have like a direct connection to like the military and the government to sort of use them as sort of like recruitment tools. Yeah. That's what you see. It's the two things you see change in 9/11 post 9/11 movies is like you see a lot more military guys being main characters and being good guys and doing that stuff. And also every movie pre 9/11 was like the bad guy was always a cop or something. And then post 9/11 cops became the heroes in like almost everything and stuff. So you see a lot more hero cops and like good cops. Like prior to that, it was always like, oh, he's like the hero because all of the cops are corrupt assholes and like, and so like he's the hero because he is actually out there. He's got a sense of justice and he hates to see the cops hassling these guys. Like, I think that's just how, like, whether it be First Blood or LA Confidential or a Smokey and the Bandit, like, even TV shows, Dukes of Hazzard and Miami Vice and like stuff like that. It's like these are all like the cops are the bad guy and they're no longer the bad guy. They are starting to become the bad guy again. It's so weird. So like Black Hawk Down is sort of like the last like war movie that like feels like it wasn't trying to do more than just be like, this is the story. It's dramatized for a sense of scale, but not dramatized to make the characters look like there's no like, well, this character didn't exist. He's actually sort of a hybrid of like 4 or 5 or 6 different guys or something, or
well, there's like, one of those. It's Eric Bana, but
a character exists, like but it's not like it's not the main. It's not like he's the main guy, and it's like you have to consolidate an ensemble cast down a little bit.
It's understandable.
Yeah,
it's not going to look better.
Nobody. Yeah, nothing is exaggerated to make it look like these are all like the biggest heroes our country has ever seen. They're the heroes that they've set out to be in the military, and they're doing what they've set out to do. And none of it's making it look like, it's not, and it's not even making it look like the conflict was right or wrong. It's not going out into the politics. Yeah, there's no politics behind it. Which, I mean, the politics is there if you know the story and you piece everything together. You know what the politics of this whole situation is. Yeah. But
they don't go
but it's like with soldiers, the politics of it typically doesn't matter to the soldier. No. Because they just have to do what they have to do. It doesn't matter politically what they believe is right or wrong in this in a particular conflict. And so nobody and there's nobody that's like, old war movies where it's like like Apocalypse Now or something, like where they're like super stoked to be out there bringing freedom to Vietnam or what the fuck ever. It's like they're just like, but there's also to make them look either like terrible or look like make the conflict look terrible or make the conflict look okay and stuff. This is just So
because like I said, I walk away from that and like, damn, our boys are well trained, because you see it's not like one guy. It's like you see them as a team and they're the procedures they follow, and you're like, Jesus, these guys really know what they're doing.
Because the reality of war is always shitty, and like at least this story isn't like, it's not like whenever you see something, it's like the Benghazi movie or something where it's like there's too much politics revolving around in this to make 13 hours. That's what that
was. There's too much Michael Bay in that movie. Yeah, that's the problem with that movie.
Yeah. So we could talk about Black Hawk Down for a while, but we should move on. I did say I wanted to keep this. I want to start keeping these at an hour 30, 90 minutes, and we're at 1 hour 18 minutes. So
we're only at Black Hawk Down.
Anyways, after Black Hawk Down was Matchstick Men.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I saw it. I saw it in theaters, but I had since seen it since then. It's like, actually, it's a good movie.
It's really good. Yeah, it's funny, and it's a good kind of light, kind of a caper movie. It's a good vehicle for my boy Nicolas Cage. Yeah, probably the last Cage movie where he could be Nick Cage to the max.
He gets to be a little Nick Cage without going too hard into it. So then after
character,
then after Matchstick Men is Kingdom of Heaven.
fantastic movie. Fast
which is a movie you
no,
absolutely directors. Yeah. Then after that is A Good Year.
I love that movie. I think it
and
was
then
one of the actual.
And then after A Good Year is American Gangster.
Good one.
Then after American Gangster is Body of Lies.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely a B-list movie. It's good, but it's just kind of like over, and you're like, all right, that was done. It's over.
That's Leo and Crow, right? That's
Yep.
And then after that is Robin Hood.
I really like that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was a cool take on that idea where it really wasn't Robin Hood. It was just like what it was. Like it's like
that was where I was introduced to Mark Strong, who I absolutely love.
Yeah. Boy, Russell Crowe really is just a frequent collaborator with him. They really like each other. Then after Robin Hood was Prometheus.
Yep.
Then The Counselor.
Ooh, yeah.
Then Exodus, Gods and Kings. Then The Martian.
Yeah, I always forget about that being a Ridley movie because that movie was kind of big on its own. Like,
because it was because that was a big book when it came out. Like that book was very popular when it was out, and that movie was very popular when it came out. Yeah. And like I like that movie. That's a funny movie, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, you don't expect it to be so funny. Yeah, that's good shit.
I like The Martian an awful lot. Let's see. Then you got Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Then you got all the money in the world.
I saw it in the theater. That was a good one. That was another one of those kind of like Body of Lies where it was over and you're like, yeah, that was good. And then
that movie basically like its promotion ended up revolving around the fact that they had to replace Spacey in it. Yeah. And he's got 2 movies in post production right now. He's got The Last Duel that we mentioned and House of Gucci. That'll be a crazy movie. Because boy, the Gucci story is something else. I don't know if you've ever.
I don't know. I just read about that this morning, and I mean, just there was a movie, and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, because that's a murder story. You know, it's so, and it's got a wild cast of it. Did you see the cast of that movie?
Yeah, I don't remember now, but I did. I did see that Christian Bale was going to be in it, and then I remember he was also going to be Ferrari, or no, or was he? Was he Ferrari in that? What was the one they ended up making with? Was it Matt Damon and?
Yeah, the Ford versus Ferrari movie.
Was Christian Bale in that?
Yes, it's Christian Bale.
Okay, because I remember he was going to do one with Michael Mann where he was in no Ferrari, but he didn't do it. Yeah. But then he ended up doing that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it was Carol Shelby and doing the whole thing. Yeah. No, the cast of this movie is Lady Gaga.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Al Pacino.
yeah. First time Patches and Ridley have worked together.
Yeah, you got Adam Driver, Jared Leto. He just seems to be getting up
there, doesn't he? yeah, Leto.
Jared Leto. And Jeremy
Matt
Irons
Damon
is in it too.
Oh no, Matt Damon's in the other one. He's in the Last Duelist. The Last Duel.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for that movie. That's a good cast, and it's filming now. It's supposed to come out this fall. That's a crazy story, and I'll be very interested to see how that plays out. Lady Gaga is a perfectly fine actress. I I don't really care too much for A Star Is Born, but I can't deny that she was good in it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen her act in anything, so I don't know. I'm assuming she's good because obviously what she's doing is acting. Like I always frown when like singers want to be actors. I'm like, what are you doing? And then they're usually good because you're performing when you're on stage. You don't love playing songs every night.
Yeah, especially with Gaga, where she was doing performance art of
totally
and stuff. So she understands theatrics, and when you're doing a movie based off of Gucci, you're really going to need the theatrics of this whole thing.
Totally.
Especially when this is based on a true story, and the person she is based off of is still in prison to this day. So
I love Prometheus. Once Farfield kind of dies, the movie just starts kind of going insane.
Yeah, it just starts
in a good way. Like the story just starts going, and it's like one
his
step ahead of you.
His death starts a chain reaction of madness that goes nonstop for the rest of the runtime. So
just very cool. And it's like
because they're dealing with his bullshit of him being reanimated while she is going through her cesarean bullshit. It's like these two horrific things are happening at the same time.
You have the C-section, and then it's done, and you're like, okay. And then it cuts to that crazy scene. You're like, oh shit. And then it cuts to her, and she's like walking in the hallway, and it's like the camera's moving, and she's all bloody, and you're like, what the hell's happening? There's just like all this weird stuff just keeps going. It's really cool. It's it sucks that this movie wasn't recognized at the time, because it's like one of the last really original movies that was like big that we've had. And
you don't get a whole lot of just like hard sci-fi stuff anymore, because like your typical sci-fi stuff tends to just be like Star Wars adjacent for the most part, fantasy space adventures, that's what they end up being, and like or like what if Indiana Jones but space or something. And this is like just like this is a space crew having both like it's because it goes back to Alien's horror roots in a lot of ways without being a hard horror movie like the others, but trying to explain some of the science behind it without explaining any of the science behind it, which is my favorite part of it. Like everything clearly feels like it makes sense to what's going on to these people around me, even if you're watching it and going like, what the fuck?
Well, that's what I like about it. Like when they when Whelan gets his like leg attachment things, and then David's got the long like pen needle, and he's like ding, and he points it, and then it works or whatever. Like, like I love that kind of stuff. Just I mean, that's where Star Wars was pioneered that, or it's just like gonna look like it makes sense, even though, and we know it makes sense, but we're not gonna explain it. It'll just look right.
You just trust us is a good way of doing a lot of sci-fi. So I do. I know I love this movie.
I was watching this morning.
It's a shame that everyone.
I was just writing my notes.
It's a shame everyone.
I was like, holy shit, this movie's good.
It's a shame everyone and it looks so like the set design on everything in this movie is so good. Everything looks so good and creative. Like everything feels familiar without looking familiar. Like it's just like these sort of like ancient tombs mixed with weird sci-fi techno babble tech and stuff, and like and everything feels like so closely related to like when you get on like the spaceships, and like even when Idris Elba is in his like pilot's thing with his hat on and everything, like it feels like 79 or 79 Alien. Like it's like there's just enough of a combining thread between those two movies, because this movie and Alien are definitely combined. There's a straight line between these two movies. It's just we don't know what the connective tissue between the two really are. But like you could tell that he wanted the aesthetic there. It's like I want it to be the same aesthetic but older. And even like you have to assume in the Alien 79 that again these are space truckers. So like the Nostromo. The ship is probably an old ship that could have been from the same exact time frame as Prometheus was done, because like it's what we could afford or whatever. But because basically like Wayland
expedition ship, it's not military or government; it's private, owned by this billionaire, probably trillionaire at that point. I guess the mission costs however many $1 trillion. So it like makes sense, and it's like it's this private thing. So of course everything's going to be way nicer than what the truckers would have.
So it's so nice to see like a prequel that respects what it's being a prequel to, but also going above and beyond, standing on its own. Exactly. It's 100% the prequel to the original Alien movie. Maybe not necessarily the franchise as a whole, because there's some, especially like Alien 3 and shit and all that stuff. But like even like there's even sort of like deleted stuff from like the Alien versus Predator movies and stuff that sort of connect to this in a little weird way. But yeah, this like, but like, you never really get prequels like this for anything ever. So it was really nice to like, it's its own thing. It is not we don't even call it Alien : Prometheus.
Yeah,
you know, it's
really rare these days.
Yeah, like, you know, it's the same like Batman thing where it's just like, it's Batman Begins and then The Dark Knight. Like, we didn't call it Batman. It's because that's how much you sort of like respect both your audience and the creativity of the stories that you're telling and stuff. Like, I don't need to call it Batman because you know it's Batman, I know it's Batman, and I think this title works better to differentiate it from everything else. And like, we know, you know, this is Alien, I know this is Alien, we both know I'm making an Alien movie, but also I want you to know that this isn't an Alien movie. Like,
exactly.
Like the title gives away the movie. Like, the title gives away what this movie is, what it's about, what its story is telling, without giving away the entire plot, and also without like this isn't an Alien movie. You know it's an Alien movie. You watch it, you can tell it's an Alien movie. All of the like, you know, telltale marks are in there. But this is Prometheus. This is its own thing. Which is, you know, when you get to the sequel, which we were not going to talk about. It's not that we're scrubbing it from history like a lot of weirdos do, where it's like, well, I didn't like episode 1, so those prequels don't exist to me. It's like, oh, they exist. It's like, I recognize that it exists, but I also recognize that this is a story that probably isn't even done yet. So going in and talking about some of this cool shit, like her going off at the end of this movie and trying to find the answers to the questions she has of why.
That was a weird ending. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go in space in the spaceship I've never been in. I'm gonna try to find these aliens, and I got this robot's head in the bag. And you're like, I can't wait to see that movie.
And then you get to Alien: Covenant, which is the exact opposite situation.
I remember when I saw that title, I was like, oh god, this movie's gonna suck. Like, right there, it told me everything. Like you were saying, it told me everything about the movie that I need to know.
Yeah, and then the beginning of that movie just sort of flushes it all down the toilet for the sake of the fans who complained about a movie that they clearly don't particularly care about. So it ruined it. So like, this director who felt down on himself in the aftermath of his brother's death ended up making like a movie that he clearly didn't want to make. And then just made an okay movie. Like, you know, there's nothing stand out of Alien Covenant. I like the creature design. I like the design of that xenomorph an awful lot. But
the beach scene was cool or whatever, and then like the grass field at night, and the guy barfs up the alien. Like, there was cool stuff, but as a Prometheus sequel, it was terrible. It was a fine like Alien 5, but it was like a shitty.
Yeah, but it sucks to just start the movie off by flushing Prometheus down the toilet. And I'm hoping that there's a way of sort of like retroactively going back and sort of maybe picking that thread back up, which very well is possible in a weird sci-fi universe like this. So,
I don't know what he'll do. I hope he does something though.
But no, we both love this movie. Well, we're definitely both huge fans of this movie, and we'll always recommend it to people. Like, if you haven't seen it since it came out, watch it again. It's a cool fucking movie. It oozes style and competence.
Exactly.
Which is rare in the Hollywood system in a lot of ways these days. So
yes, it is.
Originality. It has such a level of originality to it, especially when it's considering it's a franchise movie, and to be as original as it is wild to me. So
it is.
It was definitely a movie that nobody was telling him no to, which I always appreciate. You can tell when an artist gets to like really kind of let their art flow. Like with Alien Covenant, you could tell he was trying to make a movie for someone, not him, as opposed to Prometheus. As with Prometheus, he was making a movie for himself, and with Covenant, he was making a movie for the people that said they didn't like Prometheus, and took their criticisms to heart and did like the opposite of like, oh, you didn't like this in Prometheus, so I will do this instead.
It became a boardroom movie. They had the idea. It was called Alien Paradise Lost or something.
Yes.
And
because there's a lot. Yeah, because there's a lot of the engineers are a lot like the Dark Angels of the Paradise Lost poem.
Okay.
So there's a deep connection to Paradise Lost, the poem, and the Alien franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
So that idea of Paradise Lost was very cool.
Yeah. And then they just threw it out the window. Because...
And they keep doing, and there's some cool there's some cool shit on the horizon. So Disney fully owns Alien now.
Yeah.
There is, starting this month, I think this month being March 2021, it may be April 2021, there is a new comic book series coming out for Alien, and it looks really good. Disney, if there's one thing Disney has been doing with a lot of the stuff, and like the Star Wars comics they've been doing have been very, very good. I would argue in a lot of cases that the comics, Disney's Marvel comics for Star Wars, have been better than the movies that they've been doing for the most part. They're really cool original stories featuring like original characters. You've got things like Dr. Aphra and like telling stories in cool periods of time, and they're canonical. So who knows what, like, I would definitely love to see Ridley Scott get involved with Marvel in making something alien wise for the Alien franchise in the comic book realm, which is a real possibility. It's not a movie, which sucks, but I would love to get more like story about some of this stuff. So I'll be interested to see where that stuff goes. Disney, for all of their downfalls, for when it comes to like what they do with the Hollywood system, they know when something is important and they try not to fuck that part up. So I don't have a lot of like negative, I don't have a lot of concerns that they're going to fuck up Alien as a whole. I don't think that's the thing that's going to happen. Whether it be movie wise or anything else, because that's they don't care. They don't want to flush a billion-dollar franchise down the toilet.
Yeah, definitely.
They've already, they realize, like, every time they realize where they fucked something up, they go back and it's like the Star Wars trilogy that they did, like, it was real stop and go. Like, it was out the gate pretty strong. It kind of, they've had their hits and misses, but they figured out a little too late, like, what's right. Like, they've kind of ruined their own trilogy for the most part, but like everything else has been really good. The TV stuff has been really good. The books and the comics have all been really good. Like, by and large, like Rogue One, where they got to do sort of their like wholly original style, like it's a Star Wars movie that's not like a Star Wars movie, but is also very much a Star Wars movie. And The Mandalorian, which is probably the best like non-Lucas Star Wars product they've ever put out. Even the Clone Wars stuff it's cool that they're not done with that stuff either. Like, that is universally well loved. People love that Clone Wars stuff, and
Clone Wars is good.
Clone Wars is good, and they've recognized that. They went back and did another season of Clone Wars, and they're doing spin-offs of Clone Wars. You're getting a Bad Batch series, which will be kind of cool, which is the clones that broke from the mind control of the whole thing, doing their own thing now. And Ahsoka's getting her own stuff now. Like they figured out what they fucked up and are trying to right the ship with Star Wars, which is at least nice. And at least they're not. At least Lucasfilm is its own independent like studio doing one specific thing. Like an Alien movie will just be 20th Century Pictures. So it will exist, even though it's going to be in the Disney circle. It's going to exist independently. of sort of Disney, and it'll be just like it will be
Yeah.
R, it will be the creative
it's like
team that we
it's
want
like
to.
Touchstone and Miramax, which they own. It's like they don't make those like Disney movies.
And that's everyone always likes to tease that stuff, but it's like, hey man, Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie, you know, like it's like Disney knows how to separate stuff. If they've tried to put it under the Disney banner, then yes, it would be fucked up. But But you know, 20th century Pictures is going to, like, you know, it's obviously not 20th Century Fox anymore. It's just 20th Century Pictures. Still exists. Still going to put out an Alien movie. Still going to put out all that bullshit. Like, you know, they're probably going to put out a new Predator movie at some point because those, you know, all that stuff's going to exist still. And
I just keep trying with Predator.
You barely had one good movie, but let's just...
I was gonna say, I don't really think too highly of the first one.
Yeah.
None of the other ones are even close to good.
So the best Predator thing I ever read was Archie versus Predator, the comic book series. But yeah, so I don't know what movie we're gonna do next. I fucking have no idea.
You pulled this one out of left field, which was a good one, but you were talking about it, and I thought I knew where you were tracking, and then you said that, and I was like, oh.
Because we always want to, we have more fun talking about movies that
we defend.
Have either, that we have to, that we recognize as good movies that are sort of universally probably not recognized as good movies, or sort of like retroactively being recognized as being all right movies, or like people are starting to turn the corner on them or whatever. And this seemed like a good one for that, because we always talk about it. I don't know what the next step for that is, because because we're at this point, like when it comes to modern movies, there's a lot more like garbage movies that you love that I'm like, I'm not watching that fucking movie. I'm not gonna watch that. It's a good movie. No, it's not, Jake. It's not a good movie. You're alone on this one. Usually,
like usual.
But I don't know what it is anymore. We could always reconvene and just talk about the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Oh, that's out. I did think that. Wait, so is that going to come out on disc?
Probably not.
Okay, so you can still get the trial, right? Like the free month trial.
Yeah,
I know someone took that away when one of their big releases came out. Didn't they do that for Wonder Woman? You couldn't get the free trial in December or something.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember.
You have it. That's good. So I'll do that. Yeah, I do want to watch that shit. So I will definitely.
There is no movie I want to watch. I both simultaneously want to watch less and watch more in my life than Justice League. Like, 'cause like I'm sick of his shit, man.
Yeah, see, I like the other two, so this is the one I've been waiting for the whole time.
And I think, and we could always just talk about that one because you know, we've decided to do alternating weeks. So by the time we reconvene for another episode, that movie will have been out, because that comes out the 18th, and today we're recording this on the 9th, whatever. So it's like, you know,
yes.
So by the time we could reconvene and talk about Justice League and what they changed and what
I don't think I remember what they changed, because I only saw that first one once.
Oh, I will absolutely watch the original one and this one. I will watch both back to back just for the shits and giggles of it, to see how much is still there. I don't
think much. Probably like an hour.
It both simultaneously, they make it sound like it's both a lot and then nothing at the same time. So it's very confusing, because it's always like, they always say like, oh, most of the movie was done, like, you know, there was like 20% of the movie still exists in there. So it's like, oh, that's not that much for something. But at the same time, it's like, we brought this actor in and this actor back in, and we brought this guy back in for reshoots. We did all this. And it's like, how much movie did you fucking shoot? And how much movie is like was in the can already? Like, he made it sound like it was all 100% in the can, but then it's just like, then the longer it went on, you're like, okay. Yeah. So
I told my friend that it was 4.5 hours, and he's like, 4.5 hours? That's longer than Once Upon a Time in America. Just like, that's the only movie that's okay to be 4.5 hours. That's the only movie that should be that long.
It was originally, it was like they couldn't figure out if it was going to be one long movie or just like 4 smaller movies, and then it's like that would have been a terrible way to release that movie. Would have been.
I mean, look how you're releasing it. You're releasing it into people's houses. You can make that shit as long as you want. People can pause it whenever the fuck they want to. Like The Irishman, like that's why that movie was so long, because you're not expecting anybody to be in the theater. Like you can. I think I paused paid for their every hour by chance. I was like, I gotta pee again. And then it was like, hey, 2 hour mark.
They definitely are getting their money's. I hope they're getting their money's worth out of this whole process. That's
seriously.
Yeah. I will say this before going into that. It's like for the most part, like my biggest gripe with all of this with this universe of DC heroes is because I could sit here and talk about comic book stories you've never heard of before and just glow on and on and on about weird Superman stories and Batman stories and stuff. But I like his take on Batman. I think his Batman's really fucking cool. It's very real. It's a very like in line with a comic book Batman in a lot of ways, especially since we're coming at his career in a sort of the Dark Knight Rises era of his life, or Dark Knight Returns. I mean, era of his life. He even has his bat tank. They even show a clip of him with his big bat tank that he has in Dark Knight Returns in this new movie. Because it does you have the whole showing the decimated future stuff that's going on.
Oh yeah.
His Flash is fine. You haven't really experienced too much of his Flash. Like I don't really.
In the movie, it was good. I remember the original.
Yeah, and like Aquaman is already a shitty enough character that's kind of uninteresting. That the character is. This is the most interesting Aquaman has been in a very long time, which is saying an awful lot.
It's cool in the animated series.
Yeah.
There's just something for me that's just so unlikable about Jason Momoa. I don't know what it is, but I just almost more than Charlize Theron. I just want to beat the shit out of that guy. I don't know what it is.
He's so handsome that you just can't handle it.
I don't know. I can't
makes
get
you mad.
Obviously, it just seems like a guy I would not like.
Yeah. Obviously, I love his Wonder Woman, especially the original Wonder Woman, like her in Batman vs Superman and her own movie and stuff. Is like Wonder Woman 84 was not good, but that's not her fault. That was the movie's fault. But I just I like Cavill a lot, and I think
he's great.
He has a great Superman, but I just don't like it. It's fucking ruined Superman for me in a lot of ways because I love Superman a lot. I fucking love Superman. But there's Superman stands for one very specific thing, and Zack Snyder does not want to make that very specific thing. And it's just kind of a bummer every time Superman's on screen in a Zack Snyder movie because it's just like it's just so hard for me to watch and enjoy in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely hate his characterization and his backstory and everything that's gone on with his Superman in particular. That it is so bad for me that it ruins everything as a whole. So it's all of the things that are good in the way Snyder makes movies and the types of movies Snyder makes is he wants to clearly make Batman movies. So he tried to make a Superman movie, a Batman movie in a lot of ways, because he couldn't make a Batman movie. And now he gets to make Batman movies, by being able to introduce it because his style of writing and stuff suits Batman so well. And his sort of his eye for movies, that sort of subdued, dark, dreary sort of look that he has and everything works so well for Batman. And it's just it is the exact opposite of everything Superman has and ever will stand for in terms of everything. So it's hard for me in a lot of ways to enjoy that stuff. So especially and it doesn't help that DC Warner Brothers is so bad at making a roadmap for these movies. We should be at this point in the DC universe, film universe, where we have a blue and gold movie by this point or something. we're already at in the Marvel world of this, like where you really are. When they first started making these Avengers movies, they were calling them like dusting off the B team.
Yeah,
it's like we're actually at the B team stuff now. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy. When that movie came out, that team that they made those movies were only a few years old, based off of a bunch of characters nobody knew anything about. And it became one of the largest franchises.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much DC shit that it would just like. It's always such a bummer whenever there's just it's just another thing that just makes something else, I guess. Like, it was nice that it was nice that they made a Shazam movie. It was a Shazam movie that was like, it's nice that they went out and made something off the beaten path finally. Like this sort of like, even though the character of Shazam is like Captain Marvel is the original comic book movie. Like the first recorded comic book character of all filmed comic book character is Captain Marvel. The character is ancient, but it's nice to do something different, make it different. I want to see something else from DC other than just the same old Batman, Superman, and back and forth. So it was nice to finally get Wonder Woman.
Martian Manhunter.
Yes!
I love Martian Manhunter.
I would fucking love Martian Manhunter. I would love, a good solid like Green Arrow movie would be really fucking cool. Green Lantern has limitless potential of being like this cool sci-fi franchise that, yes, they fucked it up once, but
Green Lantern's unlimited possibilities with that.
Yeah, the Green Lantern, there's so much you could do with Green Lantern. And it's just like, they won't do it. It's like, no, we got to make Batman and Superman. That's, Wonder Woman, they finally conceded is a good idea.
Yeah, that was like you said, off the beaten path. That was, Wonder Woman's huge, but they had fucking made a movie of her till a few years ago. That was one we were waiting for forever.
Yeah, that's we've had so many Batman and Superman movies and TV shows and the cartoons and everything, and it's like Wonder Woman is just second fiddle when she's one of the most interesting characters that company has, and and it's like, even then they could still fuck it up, which is absurd. Like,
they already did, I guess. I haven't seen it, but everyone.
So I just wish they would. You see the roadmap and you see more things coming, and because you do have a Black Adam movie coming, which is fine, I guess. I mean, character's cool, but the character's not a standalone character. So I just hope we get more. There's the Flash movie. You're getting a Flash movie, but because they're so far behind, they're jumping right into Flashpoint.
Because my friend was like, "Why is this Justice League movie 4.5 hours?" I'm like, "It should be. They're introducing 10 characters."
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they've taken their sweet ass time to try to get everything to this point. Okay, I just don't know what we'll talk about it when we talk about the movie. But I guess I'll be interested to see how that movie wraps up, and if it's possible to salvage anything out of this movie.
I'm excited because this is the one that I wanted to see, however many years ago.
But I guess we should just wrap it up because we're at an hour 52 minutes, and that is well beyond the hour and a half I wanted it to be. So there we go.
You were the one talking for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, so maybe Justice League double feature. I'll probably handle most of the original Justice League talk. I'm
not watching that shit again.
But yeah, maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe something will strike one of us between now and then, and we'll figure something else different. But because it's kind of hard to do modern movies.
We'll do Rush Hour.
Always do Rush Hour. But Rush Hour is universally okay. We'll talk about it later. Rush Hour is universally loved. We can't just sit here and glow about a movie for 2 hours. All right, we'll talk about it though. But anyways, everyone, thank you so much for listening.
Of course.
Absurdly enough, this is I just put out the Wreck-It Ralph episode, and that was also a 2012 movie. So 2012 movies back to back, baby. Good year for movies, obviously.
Modernizing.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks everyone. Enjoy yourselves out there. Be safe. And I have no sign off. Never do. Never will.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs. Only losers do drugs.